Hey y'all, it's Kim. So I wanted to kind of look up this Alien Enemies Act. I think the courts have actually said no, they can't really use it, but it's still like kind of going against the executive branch, but whatever. It says invocation of the Alien Enemies Act regarding the invasion of the United States by the Trinidad Aragua. And this was from the White House, March 15th, 2025, it says by the President of the United States of America that a proclamation, I guess one of his executive orders, it says Trinidad Aragua or TDA is a designated foreign terrorist organization with thousands of members, many of whom have lawfully infiltrated the United States and are conducting irregular warfare and undertaking hostile actions against the United States. TDA operates in conjunction with Cartel de los Soles, I guess, the Nicolas Maduro regime sponsored narco terrorism enterprise based in Venezuela and commits brutal crimes, including murders, kidnappings, extortions, and human, drug, and weapons trafficking. TDA has engaged in and continues to engage in mass illegal migration to the United States to further its objective of harming United States citizens, undermining public safety, and supporting the Maduro regime's goal of destabilizing democratic nations in the Americas, including the United States. TDA is solely aligned with and indeed was the infiltrated or indeed has infiltrated the Maduro regime, including its military and law enforcement apparatus. TDA grew significantly while Tariq El Asimi served as governor of Aragua between 2012 and 2017. In 2017, Al Asimi or Asimi, whatever, was appointed as vice president of Venezuela. Soon after, the United States Department of the Treasury designated Al Asimi as specially designated narcotics trafficker under the Foreign Narcotics Kingpin Designation Act. 21 USC 1901. I don't know. I don't know what that means. El Asimi is currently a United States fugitive facing charges arising from the violations of United States sanctions triggered by his Department of the Treasury designation. Like El Asimi, Nicolas Maduro, who claims to act as Venezuela's president and asserts control over the security forces and other authorities in Venezuela, also maintains close ties to Maduro, or excuse me, to regime. Sorry, I saw the word up here. To regime sponsored narco terrorists. Maduro leads the regime sponsored enterprise Cartel de los Soles, which coordinates with and relies on TDA and other organizations to carry out its objective of using illegal narcotics as a weapon to flood the United States. In 2020, Maduro and other regime members were charged with narco terrorism and other crimes in connection with this plot against America. Over the years, Venezuelan national and local authorities have ceded ever greater control over their territories to transnational criminal organizations, including TDA. And I think they took over an apartment complex in Colorado, if I'm remembering it right. But anyway, it says the result is a hybrid criminal state that is perpetrating an invasion of and predatory incursion into the United States, which poses a substantial danger to the United States. Indeed, in December 2024, Interpol Washington confirmed Trinidad Aragua has emerged as a significant threat to the United States as it infiltrates migration flows from Venezuela. See, yeah, evidence irrefutably demonstrates that TDA has invaded the United States and continues to invade, attempt to invade, and threaten to invade the country. perpetrated irregular warfare within the country, and used drug trafficking as a weapon against our citizens. Based upon a review of TDA's activities and its consultation with the Attorney General and the Secretary of the Treasury on February 20th, 2025, acting pursuant to the authority in 8 USC 1189, the Secretary of State designated TDA as a foreign terrorist organization. As President of the United States and Commander in Chief, it is my solemn duty to protect the American people from the devastating effects of this invasion. Now, therefore, I, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, by the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, including the Alien Enemies Act, 50 USC 21 et sec, whatever, hereby proclaim and direct as follows. Section 1, I find and declare that TDA is perpetrating, attempting, and threatening an invasion of predatory incursion against against the territory of the United States. TDA is undertaking hostile actions and conducting irregular warfare against the territory of the United States, both directly and at the direction, clandestine and otherwise, of the Maduro regime in Venezuela. I make these findings using the full extent of my authority to conduct the nation's foreign affairs under the Constitution. Based on these findings and by the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, including 50 USC 21, I proclaim that all Venezuelan citizens 14 years of age or older who are members of TDA are within the United States and are not actually naturalized or lawful permanent residents of the United States are liable to be apprehended, restrained, secured, and removed as alien enemies. I further find and declare that all such members of TDA are, by virtue of their membership in that organization, chargeable with actual hostility against the United States and are therefore ineligible for the benefits of 50 USC 22. I further find and declare that all such members of TDA are a danger to the public's peace or safety of the United States. Section 2, I direct the Attorney General within 60 days of the date of this proclamation to prepare and publish a letter under her signature declaring the policy described in Section 1 of this proclamation as the policy of the United States and attaching this proclamation. I direct the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, to transmit this letter to the Chief Justice of the United States, the Chief Judge of every Circuit Court of Appeals, the Chief Judge of every District and Territorial Court of the United States, each Governor of a state and territory of the United States, and the highest ranking judicial officer of each state and territory of the United States. Section 3, I direct that all alien enemies described in Section 1 of this proclamation are subject to immediate apprehension, detention, and removal, and further, that they shall not be permitted residence in the United States. Section 4, pursuant to the Alien Enemies Act, the Attorney General and the Secretary of Homeland Security shall, consistent with applicable law, apprehend, restrain, secure, and remove every alien enemy described in Section 1 of this proclamation. The Secretary of Homeland Security retains discretion to apprehend and remove any alien enemy under any separate authority. Section 5, all executive departments and agencies shall collaborate with law enforcement officials of the United States and with appropriate state, local, and tribal officials to use all lawful means to apprehend, restrain, secure, and remove alien enemies described in Section 1 of this proclamation. Section 6, pursuant to my authority under 50 USC 21 to direct the conduct to be observed on the part of the United States toward the alien enemies subject to this proclamation, to direct the manner and degree of the restraint to which such alien enemies shall be subject, and in what cases, to provide for the removal of such alien enemies, and to establish any other regulations which are found necessary in the premises and for the public safety. I hereby direct the Attorney General and Secretary of Homeland Security to execute all the regulations hereinafter contained regarding the alien enemies described in Section 1 of this proclamation. The Attorney General and the Secretary of Homeland Security are further directed to cause the apprehension, detention, and removal of all members of TDA who otherwise qualify as alien enemies under Section 1 of this proclamation. The Attorney General and the Secretary of Homeland Security are authorized to take all necessary actions under the Alien Enemies Act to effectuate this proclamation consistent with applicable law. In doing so, and for such purpose, they are authorized to utilize agents, agencies, and other officers of the United States government and of the several states, territories, dependencies, and municipalities thereof, and of the District of Columbia. All such agents, agencies, and officers are hereby granted full authority for all acts done by them in the execution of such regulations when acting by direction of the Attorney General or the Secretary of Homeland Security, as the case may be, pursuant to the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, including the Alien Enemies Act 50 U.S.C. 21, etc. I hereby declare and establish the following regulations which I find necessary in the premises and for the public safety. No alien enemy described in Section 1 of this proclamation shall enter, attempt to enter, or be found within any territory subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. Any such alien enemy who enters, attempts to enter, or is found within such territory shall be immediately apprehended and detained until removed from the United States. All such enemies, wherever found within any territory subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, are subject to summary apprehension. Alien enemies apprehended pursuant to this proclamation shall be subject to detention until removed from the United States in such place of detention as may be directed by the officers responsible for the execution of these regulations. Alien enemies shall be subject to removal to any such location as may be directed by the officers responsible for the execution of these regulations consistent with applicable law. All property in the possession of or transferred or traceable to an alien enemy which is used, intended to be used, or is commonly used to perpetuate the hostile activity and irregular warfare of TDA, along with evidence of such hostile activity and irregular warfare, shall be subject to seizure and forfeiture. The Attorney General is further granted authority pursuant to the Alien Enemies Act and 3 U.S.C. 301 in consultation with the Secretary of Homeland Security to issue any guidance necessary to effectuate the prompt apprehension, detention, and removal of all alien enemies described in Section 1 of this proclamation. Any such guidance shall be effective immediately upon issuance by the Attorney General. This proclamation and the directives and regulations described herein shall extend and apply to all land and water, continental or insular, in any way within the jurisdiction of the United States, in witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand this 14th day of March in the year of the Lord 2025, and of the independence of the United States of America, the 249th. So the year, anyway. Let's see what people are saying about this. There's that. Let me see if we can look this up. I just want to see if anybody's talking about this alien enemies thing. I know that the courts, I think, at least I believe they shot it down. Enemies. Like they said he couldn't use that. I'm just curious. Okay. Well, she needs to be taken out anyway of the country. The Supreme Court just ruled that under the Alien Enemies Act, Trump has total authority. Oh, continue this. Okay, well, good. But I thought they shut it down, so that's good. Yeah, I mean, if they're doing something they're not supposed to, Well, that's good if they actually did. It says the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the Trump administration on the usage of the Alien Enemies Act. This is from April 7th. Supreme Court of the United States. Oh, that's right. I think I already did a video on this one about the per curiam, something like that. The Supreme Court chose the right side of history. Residing in our country illegally is a crime. Every illegal alien in the U.S. is a criminal. Okay, well, that's good. Randy Biggs or Andy Biggs. Mass deportation flights to El Salvador at least twice a day, preferably thrice. They don't look like they're suffering enough. It says while limited to just illegals, U.S. cities don't seem to know how to clean up their own streets, even at the basic level. Get them the hell out of the country. Don't have to be brutal. What? Great, let the games begin. Time to speed up deportations. No, they did not. It is temporary and it is only for those identified as part of the gang that they claim people were part of. Okay. So yes, I voted for this. I mean, some of this stuff you never know if it's like true or not. So that's why I'm kind of like with so many different cases coming out, who knows? But I did want to go over the alien enemies thing because I was like, that's kind of wild. It says breaking SCOTUS has ruled in Trump's favor on the usage of the Alien Enemies Act. This is used to deport them all, expel the invaders. Let's see. Okay. New Justice Alito. Okay, this is April 20th. Justice Alito's dissent in SCOTUS's mind-boggling 1 a.m. Saturday ruling to halt deportations in Alien Enemies Act lawsuit in northern Texas absolutely nukes his colleagues for such a hasty and unprecedented act. Now, this is Julie Kelly. She has a Substack. She's got all kinds of stuff. But let's look at this. I just want to see what it says. Justice Alito says district courts never certified a class, and this court has never held this class. Relief may be sought in a habeas proceeding. In some, literally in the middle of the night, the court issued unprecedented and legally questionable relief without giving the lower courts a chance to rule, without hearing from the opposing party within 8 hours of receiving the application, with dubious factual support for its order, and without providing any explanation for its order. I refused to join the court's order because we had no good reason to think that, under the circumstances, issuing an order at midnight was necessary or appropriate. Both the executive and the judiciary have an obligation to follow the law. The executive must proceed under the terms of our order in Trump versus JGG 604 US, and this is 2025, per curiam, and this court should follow established procedures. Let's see what the comments have to say on this one. Let's see. It says, I'm shocked Gorsuch, excuse me, signed on to this farce. It says Justice Alito, with whom Justice Thomas joins dissenting. It says shortly after midnight yesterday, the court hastily and prematurely granted unprecedented emergency relief, proceeding under the All Writs Act 28 USC 1651. The courts ordered the government not to remove a putative class of detainees until this court issues a superseding order 604 US 2025. Although the court does not define the putative class, it appears that the court means all members of the class that the habeas petitioners sought to have certified, namely all non-citizens in custody in the Northern District of Texas who were, are, or will be subject to the March 2025 presidential proclamation entitled Invocation of the Alien Enemies Act regarding the invasion of the United States by Trinidad and Tobago and or its implementation. Motion for class certification in number 125 CV 59. Whatever all this is, I don't know. And then document 3, page 1. And although the court does not specify what it means by the government, it appears that the term is intended to embrace all the named defendants, including the president. And then whatever all this, it appears that the applicants have recently moved to amend their class petition for habeas corpus and their motions for class certification. SCOTUS did not rule according to the law. They did whatever they wanted, even though they knew they did not have the authority. That's judicial anarchy. If SCOTUS is ignoring the law, it's no longer that the district and appellate judges feel they can do the same. It's beyond pathetic that we reached a point where only 2 justices seem to give a damn about upholding the rule of law. Alito's dissent wasn't just a disagreement, it was a full-blown nuke on the clown show his colleagues just pulled at 1 a.m. This isn't justice, it's judicial sabotage. And can someone name me a judge that stopped Obama when he deported 3 million people? Who go ahead, I'll wait. It says, we are now a third world nation ruled by corrupt judges and incompetent SCOTUS and injunctions. At this juncture, the election last year has been nullified by judicial fiat. And that really, I think, makes a lot of people mad. I'm just going to say it. How come when the ACLU rushes to SCOTUS for a ruling, the justices work into the middle of the night after midnight to grant it, but when Trump's administration goes there, he has to wait weeks for an emergency ruling? Elections have consequences. In the case of electing President Trump, it seems to be an activist judiciary determined to invalidate the results of our vote, which is, yeah, not good. It says SCOTUS didn't rule on the judicial process that is legal on entry into our nation, while Biden bypassed all legislation and did exactly what he needed to do to destroy our nation with voting implants. SCOTUS didn't rule to prevent the trafficking that was being done under the previous administration. They've gone rogue too. It's just a judicial coup. Are they judges or activists? His colleagues are now politicians. Do not treat their ruling as anything other than political warfare. If you decide to no longer decide cases on constitutional precedent, then you are not worthy of the SCJ title. Shame on all those on the court who oppose the Constitution. It is disgusting that we only have 2 reliable Supreme Court justices after all the appointments by Republican presidents. Washington, D.C. seems to corrupt almost everyone if they stay there long enough. My personal opinion is they didn't want people coming after them. Personally, the ones that voted. So that's probably why they didn't want the backlash. And then, anyway, this is Mike Davis. It says President Trump is trying to undo the invasion of our country recklessly allowed by presidents before him. There is no due process under the Alien Enemies Act. The president can repel an invasion with his Article 2 powers. Judges need to remember that it's their job to put on robes, not capes, act as neutral arbiters of the law, not narcissistic superheroes flying around and saving criminal illegal immigrants. Thanks for having me. Okay, it's on the whatever reports. President Trump is lawfully using his power under the Alien Enemies Act and the Constitution to deport ruthless gang members. What's not lawful is a rogue DC judge usurping his authority as commander-in-chief, and Judge Boasberg's power grab is legal and impeachable. Let's see what Brandon Gill, he's a new up-and-coming congressman.
America would be safer and more prosperous if Democrats and their rogue judges who carry out their bidding loved the American people as much as they seem to love inundating our communities with violent illegal aliens. What President Trump is doing here by deporting members of the Tren de Aragua, who, by the way, are some of the most ruthless and brutal gang members on the globe, is he is using his statutory authority under the Alien Enemies Act and his plenary authority under Article 2 of the Constitution to carry out the United States' foreign policy and to repel invasions this is entirely lawful for the president. What is not lawful is a rogue judge in the DC Circuit Court trying to usurp the president's power to protect the American people. Power that, by the way, President Trump was democratically given. He ran on this issue of protecting the people from illegal aliens. He's executing on that mission. It is wrong and I believe impeachable for this judge to be usurping that power.
Okay, so
Yeah, see, I just don't get it. Why we can't get some people in here that actually want to do what's right. Biden didn't vet these people, and now we have to basically go through an entire process to get them out. That's so ridiculous. Let's see. So there's a group of Venezuelans who are soon going to be deported under the Alien Enemies Act. Have you authorized as this? Our people voted for me to get them out. They want them out. A judge wasn't elected to do that. I was elected to do that. I mean, that's it. And it's like I drop. It's like what the heck? It says your neighbor or meet your neighbor, whatever. Gallegos seen here showing off an AR with drum and grenades. Alleged leader Trenda Aragua in Los Angeles arrested yesterday by the feds and who the courts tell us should not be deported pursuant to the Alien Enemies Act. So obviously, this isn't going very well. I mean, Trump is voted in for this, so he should be able to do that. Get them out of our country since Biden just let them all cross the border. But anyway, I just wanted to look at that Alien Enemies Act. It's ridiculous that we've got judges that are trying to shut all this stuff down. But I don't know how this is all going to turn out, guys. It's kind of frustrating. We've got all these people just running around here, and they are criminals, even if they didn't commit a crime, they're still eligible, I would say, for deportation if they're caught out in public somewhere, but whatever. Anyway, I'll talk to y'all later. Have a good afternoon. Bye.